I already know what you're thinking. Why is your NZXT H510 Flow video so late? Well, should I start them off with a bit of a story? This time it's TNT. They appeared to have, I think they lost our NZXT H510 Flows that NZXT sent over. So we had to source our own. So that's what we're doing today. We're building in the brand new NZXT H510 Flow. NZXT finally added some airflow to their case, but what we're gonna do is the usual thing. We're gonna do a build, we're gonna talk about the parts, we're gonna test the thermals, and I'm gonna let you guys know what I think about this case. Now, the thing I'm not gonna be doing is fully reviewing this case, like all the internals and everything like that, because it's more of the same from NZXT, except with that open front. So without further ado, let's jump in. With these type of builds on the channel, we build them to inspire you guys to build beautiful PCs of your own, and I think this one fits that bill. This is kind of a return of a classic. We did the H510 Elite build in very similar fashion, very similar parts, but a little bit changed up in this instance. So let's see how this beautiful little RGB shoelaced PC came together. The OGs will get that reference. Let's put it together. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the NZXT H510 Flow come together, but let's take a look at the thermals. What you're seeing on screen right now is it appears that NZXT has finally got decent thermals on one of their cases because of that open front. Now, one thing I wasn't sure about is whether or not that front fan filter would actually impede the performance. It does a little bit, but not as much as you might expect. I would even go as far as saying that they should have done a fine mesh on the front so they wouldn't have to use a filter and you could just wipe the front of the case, much like the way that Fantex does it on their cases, because no fan filter is created perfectly to stop dust going into your system. So the other thing with this case is I haven't seen what other people have got for their thermal testing. I haven't bothered to look. I never do. I always like to see what we come up with, and this is what we came up with the thermals for this case. So it is what it is. It could be better, could be worse. it doesn't really matter because realistically, this is more of the same from NZXT with an open front. Everything else on the case is exactly the same. Speaking of, let's take a look at some of the parts that we use for this build. The CPU is the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X. We put that on the NZXT N7 B550. The reason why I wanted to use this board is I've only ever used it once before, and because we did a black build, I thought, you know what, that's gonna look pretty schmicko in that case. This board always looks pretty good because it's really understated. It doesn't have RGB on the board itself, and I like that. To cool the 5900X, we use the NZXT Kraken X63. I decided to go without the screen, mainly because I don't have a 280mm AIO with a screen, so obviously we use the old classic here. You'll also notice that I put it tubes down because I showed this in the last H510 Elite build that we did. If you go tubes down with an AIO in this case, you can actually hide the tubes quite well, so you can't see them at all, kind of like the CPU's being cooled from the fourth dimension. So yeah, I prefer it that way. It looks really nice. The RAM is 32 gigs of Corsair Dominator Platinum RGB. I don't remember the speed of this kit, but it's probably 3600 megahertz. The GPU is the Asus Tough Gaming RTX 3070 Ti. The main reason for using this GPU is, it's just like the GPU that I've got that isn't white or has a little bit of RGB. I wanted it to be a little bit more understated than usual for the components, rather than like the lighting and all that stuff. The GPU support bracket is the one that comes with the old Aorus 20 series NVIDIA cards. I don't know where you can buy them or if you can buy them separately. I think they did it for a while, but yeah, I just shoved one of those in and then I painted over the Aorus logo, so then it's a no Aorus. You're probably noticing those RGB shoelaces inside of the case. They're the Lian Li Strimmer Plus cables. I've had these for about 2 years and I like to use them on these kind of showy builds because people love them, but people always ask what they are, Claire. What cables are they? Every time, what cables? It's like, just watch the video, guys. I talk about all that stuff in the video, and it's usually in the PC part picker list down below, which is where you can find the rest of the parts from this build. Let's talk a little bit about the H510 Flow. Now, as I mentioned, this is more of the same. This is the H510 or the H510 Elite more like, and it's basically had the glass panel replaced with this mesh panel. Now, there's a couple things that I would personally do on a build like this. Now, I noticed that if you're going for like that full bling RGB look and you don't care about getting dust in your system, which you should care about, but if you don't care, you can actually pull the mesh out of the front panel. And I only did this for aesthetic purposes, just so the light comes through it a bit better for when we film, because it does kind of match the tint of the glass, because the glass panel is tinted for this case. Pop it in, pop it. So much like the other H510 cases, the build quality is exactly the same. There's nothing to talk about with this case in terms of what they've added other than the front mesh. So if you look at the H510 Elite, like I mentioned, it's literally glass, and this is not. Whether or not you can change your Elite to this, I don't know, and the only reason why I don't know is because I gave my H510 Elite away to a friend. I do that all the time. I give cases away to people because we live in a small apartment and we can't have like cases overtaking our house. We do have storage, but you know, that gets full pretty quickly, and by the time we look again, our storage is completely full. We've got like 60 cases. I think we've got more cases in our storage, Claire, than June has ever produced. Apparently there's 900 and 300 are waiting to be shipped and 600 are built, but it looks like they've been circulating the same photos for about 4 months. Where June? Nowhere. June in June 2022. Give me my fucking June kiss. There's not really much more to talk about with this case other than the fact, yeah, that front mesh panel, everything is identical, and that is kind of NZXT's formula. They've had that formula since the S340, and to be honest, ladies and gents, I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the H510 Flow. More of the same, just with added airflow. Whether or not you like the look of it, I don't think it matters too much. It's added airflow, which has been the biggest complaint so far. NZXT has always said that they'll never do airflow focus cases, so the fact that they finally listened to the community and did something about it speaks volumes for them in, I don't know how, but it speaks volumes because we've been speaking so loudly about this that they ended up doing it. And I've seen plenty of people mod the front of the Elite to be mesh. I've seen people even go as far as just whacking some fly screen on there or just pulling that panel off completely, which would give you pretty similar thermal results, to be honest. But yeah, I'm done here. Like I mentioned, PC part picker list for anything that I missed. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek, we seek. Don't you dare go anywhere. Please don't go anywhere. Please. Anyways, yeah, stick around.